It's been a while, but I am back, and we're going to talk about a new cryptocurrency. Not quite new to this channel because we've talked about the development of this cryptocurrency, but it's going into mainnet next week. So, this is a cool opportunity to learn about new technology and potentially get in on an investment opportunity. Although nothing on this channel is investment advice, I'll personally be putting a little bit of money into this cryptocurrency, and I'll be talking about how that works. So you can find this cryptocurrency at malt.money. Long story short, this is an algorithmic stablecoin. And this is one of those projects where if you're new to this, it's like, what is going on? Because it's fairly confusing. But once you study it a couple of times, it starts to make sense and you can see the value of a project like this. See, when I started with cryptocurrency, I was very naive and I was like, okay, cryptocurrency is just going to go up and up and up for eternity. So why would you ever sell your cryptocurrency for a stable coin that always has a consistent value? An example that many people know is USDT or USDC. So here you can see the price chart of Tether USDT, and you can see it fluctuates a little bit, but when you look at the actual numbers over here on the left, you can see that this isn't a very tight range. This cryptocurrency is always valued at pretty much $1. Stablecoins are valuable in cryptocurrency because you don't always want to have all of your money in cryptocurrencies that are very volatile. For example, take a look at this chart here of Nano. Well, maybe you bought in at Nano, let's say like right here, and it starts going up, it peaks and starts going down. And then you're like, oh crap, like I don't know what to do here. I want to realize these gains, lock them in. Well, then I could trade my Nano cryptocurrency for a stable coin like USDT, or potentially here in the next week, the Malt cryptocurrency. So stable coins are good for realizing gains and preventing losses and having stability in your portfolio. They are good for basically if there's a market crash, you could use those stable coins to trade for very cheap cryptocurrencies that you've been saving up for. They are good because they have a consistent price. So if you're trying to buy something that has a value, you know exactly how many of the cryptocurrency you need. Whereas if you go off of a very volatile cryptocurrency, that depends on the market price. So if somebody's selling something for $10,000, you know that's going to be 10,000 USDT or another cryptocurrency such as the Malt cryptocurrency. Another way you can think of it is if you want to buy and sell cryptocurrencies, but you don't always want to go between fiat currency like USD all the way into a cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin, and you want to stay purely in cryptocurrency, then that is where a stablecoin comes in handy. So that was a pretty big intro just to ask the question, why do we need another stablecoin such as Malt? To understand why you might want a cryptocurrency like Malt, you need to understand why Tether USDT always stays at $1. How exactly does that work? Who says that this cryptocurrency is worth $1? Well, the way this works is Tether is pegged to the United States dollar, and it's actually backed by the United States dollar. So what that means is I can take my Tether and trade it for United States dollars. I've never done this personally, but here's a knowledge base article from Tether, how to redeem Tether to your bank account. And here are the steps to do this. You can kind of think of this as when fiat currency came into existence. If you guys can remember back that far, basically, the United States dollar was backed by a certain value of gold, and you could trade your United States dollar for gold. Well, this is a similar thing, but in cryptocurrency. So now your Tether cryptocurrency is backed by United States dollars, and it will always equal about $1 because of arbitrage opportunities. Arbitrage opportunities are when you can find a fluctuation in market price and make a profit off of it. For example, if you found Tether for sale for 99 cents, you might want to buy that because you could take all that Tether you bought and trade it for United States dollars at $1 each. So in a way, you get an instant 1% gain in your portfolio. So Tether always has a natural way of finding that $1 price. And there are incentives to keep it there. If the price is too high or too low, well, then you're going to have these arbitrage opportunities. So the purpose of an algorithmic stablecoin is to have the same functionality as a stablecoin such as USDT, but without being backed by a fiat currency. So the goal is to have this cryptocurrency be crypto native. So these incentives to bring the price back to 1 are built into the algorithm. So there's actually code that's going to change the way the cryptocurrency works depending on if the cryptocurrency is above $1 or below $1. So it's still going to be pegged to that dollar value, but there is no fiat cryptocurrency backing it, and it just basically has a consistent price for you to be able to realize gains or prevent losses. All the benefits of these stablecoins still exist, but the way it gets back to that peg is different. There are a lot of stablecoins in existence, the most popular ones being Tether, USDC, BUSD, DAI, which you're going to hear a little bit more about in this video. And you can go through this list and see some of the other ones. One that was pretty important in the stablecoin space recently, specifically algorithmic stablecoins, is the Phi protocol, and we've talked a little bit about that on this channel. All these algorithmic stablecoins have different approaches on how the cryptocurrency gets back to peg, so we're going to talk about how Malt gets back to peg. What happens when the price of Malt goes up, and what happens when the price of Malt goes down? How does it return back to peg? When I say back to peg, I just mean back to the value that the cryptocurrency is targeting, which in Malt's case is $1. I think this number is arbitrary. You could have a stable coin that always reaches 10 cents, but $1 is very natural, and that's what a lot of these other stable coins target. The summary of what happens when the price of Malt is above peg can be found in this sentence right here. When the price of Malt is above peg, the stabilizer node will mint Malt and sell it directly into the liquidity pool to drop the price. This sale generates profit, some of which is retained by the stabilizer node as liquidity extension, and the rest is immediately distributed as rewards to bonded LPs. Now again, if you're new here, you might just be like, what was that? Could you say that again? So let's go into that in a little bit more detail. So there's this thing called a liquidity extension. And it says every liquidity pool in the Malt ecosystem gets its own stabilizer node. So basically there's going to be a liquidity pool, and this is a combination of two cryptocurrencies. In the case of Malt, starting off, it's going to be Malt and the DAI stablecoin. So when you get into investing in the Malt cryptocurrency, you're going to need both of these cryptocurrencies, and they're actually on the Matic chain, and we're going to get into the details of how that works. But basically, there is a pool of cryptocurrency, part of it being DAI and part of it being Malt. So the Malt DAI liquidity pool is going to have its own stabilizer node. This stabilizer node is in charge of taking actions to keep price stable. This includes minting and selling Malt, as well as triggering arbitrage auctions. We're going to get into the arbitrage auctions in a moment, which is what happens when it's below peg, but the first part here is important. This includes minting and selling Malt. So what happens is if the price is above peg, the stabilizer node will mint Malt and sell it directly into the liquidity pool to drop the price. You can think of it like this. Let's say there's 1,000 Malt in existence, and everybody wants to get their hands on Malt. So the buying pressure is very high, which drives the price up. Well, now the cryptocurrency is above peg. So the way they fix this is by essentially creating more Malt. So let's say the price went up to $2. Well, if we double the amount of Malt, well, that's going to bring the price back down to $1. And now there's 2 times as much Malt in existence. So if Malt is overpriced and it should be worth $1, if the protocol prints a bunch of more Malt, it's going to bring that price back down. Now, what happens to this new Malt? Well, first off, it's sold, and some of that is retained by the stabilizer node, and the rest is distributed as rewards to bonded LPs. What cryptocurrency exactly do you get? Well, you're going to be rewarded in DAI. So why does Malt pay rewards in DAI? Most farmable stablecoins pay rewards in the protocol's native token. The problem with this is speculators will then need to sell the tokens to realize profit. Those profit-taking flows are often beneficial because they bring the price back down to peg. Unfortunately, there are also times where that profit-taking is undesirable and drives price below peg. So basically, having the rewards in DAI directly, the protocol takes care of the selling. It helps stabilize that price by reducing selling action of the cryptocurrency. Basically, you don't want to mint a bunch of Malt and then have a bunch of people selling it and potentially driving the price below peg. Now back to this concept of the liquidity extension. When new Malt is created, it is sold, and a portion of this is retained by the stabilizer node as liquidity extension. So a portion of the profits from the sale is retained, and these profits are actually used to buy back Malt if it goes below peg. You can read here, when the price drops below peg, the stabilizer node uses its liquidity extension to buy back and burn Malt to contract supply and therefore increase the price back to peg. So burning is basically the opposite of printing new Malt. It's going to purchase Malt and then destroy it. So less Malt will be in circulation, which is going to drive the price back up. So to kind of think of how this works, imagine there's 2,000 Malt out there. They should be worth $1, but they're only worth 50 cents. Well, if you burn half of the supply of Malt and the demand is the same, well, then the price will double to $1. So to summarize these thoughts, if the Malt cryptocurrency is above $1, more of them will be created, and part of that's going to be reserved by the protocol and the liquidity extension, and the rest will be given as rewards to those who bond their LP tokens. On the other end, if the price is below peg, that money in the liquidity extension is going to be used to buy up Malt and burn it. So that will help restore it back to peg. In addition to this, there is also the concept of an arbitrage auction. And this is the more active side of investing in this coin, where you don't just essentially stake a coin and earn profits. Rather, you make some decisions and purchase cryptocurrency in the future for a cheaper price. Let me explain how that works. So when the price of Malt in a particular liquidity pool, such as Malt and DAI, falls below peg, it will trigger an arbitrage auction for that pool. This is a Dutch-style auction that will start around $1 and will steadily drop over the course of 30 minutes. The auction ends as soon as either the time is up or a predetermined amount of money is pledged to the auction. Pledges are always in the other token in the Malt/other pool. You can think of, in this case, Malt/DAI, just to make it a little bit more concrete. In return for the money pledged, the user will receive arbitrage tokens. Everyone who pledges to the auction will pay the same price regardless of what they bid, that price being whatever the price is when the auction ends. Arbitrage tokens that you're buying at auction will be redeemed for you by the protocol into the other token at an equivalent value of $1 per token. So basically, you can think of it as, in the case of Malt/DAI, you buy DAI that's worth $1, but you're buying it for less than $1. The only issue is that you don't get that DAI immediately. You're basically buying future DAI. So here's a description of how it works. The auctions of these ARB tokens are triggered once Malt price is below 99 cents. ARB tokens are purchased with DAI and redeemed in DAI. All DAI contributions are immediately used to purchase Malt from the liquidity pool, which is then burned to produce supply contraction. ARB tokens are similar to bonds, coupons, and other stablecoins, except they do not expire and are automatically redeemed as soon as possible. Partial redemption of tokens will also be done, meaning if the protocol generates enough profit to pay 10% of an auction, then every participant will have 10% of their tokens redeemed. The protocol decides how much capital the auction needs to raise. The amount is decided based on how much buying is required to push the price back to $1. Auctions last for 30 minutes, with the ARB token price starting at $1 and continuously decreasing across the span of 30 minutes. The auction ends after either 1, all tokens are purchased, or 2, 30 minutes has elapsed. If the 30 minutes elapsed with price still below $1 and there are unpurchased ARB tokens, the next auction starts immediately after. And you can read through the rest of this article if you're interested, how Malt arbitrage auctions work. Essentially, you're buying potential future profits for a discount. And this has risk because, if Malt never goes back up to peg, well, then you potentially lose all your money. But the market has a way of deciding how much these arbitrage tokens are worth as it's an auction. So if people feel that, hey, the risk isn't quite worth it, well, then people are not going to pay as close to $1. They're going to wait for that price to drop and buy in cheaper. So I think market's going to have a way of stabilizing this risk to what it's actually worth. And ideally that finds some equilibrium, and it's a consistent way of pushing Malt's price back up to peg. So let's talk briefly about the earning potential for this cryptocurrency. It's a little hard for me to say, oh, this is how much money you're going to make, because nobody can say for sure if you'll make any money. For example, this cryptocurrency could fail and you could lose your money. There are risks associated with this. So please don't take anything here as investment advice. I'm going to put in a little bit of money that I'm willing to lose because I believe that the project is going to be a success, but I also am not going to put 100% of my net worth, like $12. I'm not going to put all of my net worth in there, assuming to make it big. You have to find that balance. But basically, the way it's going to work is instead of the price driving increased value, it's going to be the quantity. So whereas other cryptocurrencies, you might buy one Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin goes up 10x. Well, in the case of Malt, you might buy 1,000 Malt and the quantity of Malt in existence goes up 10x and you're left with those rewards. So my assumption is that because the initial supply is going to be fairly low and people really do want an algorithmic stablecoin, that this has a pretty high earning potential. To actually do this, and I'll most likely be showing the steps in an upcoming video probably next week, but you're going to need DAI on the Matic chain as well as a little bit of Matic for gas fees. You will use this DAI to buy 50% Malt, and you're going to put 50% Malt, 50% DAI into a liquidity pool. That contribution to the liquidity pool is returned with the Malt DAI liquidity pool tokens. You can then bond, or you can think of it as stake, these LP tokens to get these rewards. For those who are fairly new to cryptocurrency, this is a lot of steps and pretty challenging to figure out without much of a guide. So my suggestion is, first off, you probably want to join the Malt Discord. That's where you can get all of your questions answered. And then stay tuned for the hands-on addition to this video, just because I really wanted this one to be more of an informational, hey, here's a new cryptocurrency kind of video, as opposed to a tutorial style. But I'll probably put some money in and show those results as well as how you can get involved in an upcoming video. So if you're interested in that, you can hit subscribe and the notification bell. But to show you what it will look like as I prepare, well, I have MetaMask on here and I added in here the Matic mainnet. And you can see here I have 1,000 DAI as well as some Matic. Now the gas fees on the Matic chain are essentially nothing compared to Ethereum. So you don't probably need very much Matic. So this is the setup and I think I'm ready to go. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, drop them in the comment section below. I'll also leave a pinned comment, which is where I'm going to put my resources, in the comment section. So if you want to find the links to the articles and the stuff I referred to in this video, you can find those there. I may even throw in timestamps if I'm feeling really ambitious. But you're already done with this video, so I don't think those timestamps are going to be very helpful anymore. But if you need a reference back to this video, you can check those out below. Thank you for watching, everybody, and stay tuned for upcoming content. We have a lot of cool stuff coming. Peace out.